Hello, and welcome back to the Macro Gamer channel. My name is Mark Cassingham. Today we're going into our portfolio update, as we do every week. This is going to be for week 37, as of today, April 5th, 2025. I said last week, this week's going to be an interesting week because Trump was going to put out his tariffs, and it absolutely did not disappoint, and the market corrected very hard. So it's a bit of a bloodbath today, but we'll go through it as we do every week. So as always, start with our portfolio net worth. We're at $479.51, and that's as of today, April 5th, 2025. We have our portfolio weekly data for week 37. This is from March 31st, 2025 till April 5th, 2025. We had net cash flow of $30, so that's a $30 deposit right here on April 2nd. And of course, right after, April 3rd, 4th, and 5th came and tariffs came out and just decimated the market. Our money-weighted return for the week is down 2.43%. It's a big drop. 2.43% down. Market loss of $15.07. That's a lot of money to lose. Again, this was all due to the tariffs, which I'm sure nobody knew that we were going to tariff 185 countries simultaneously in one day. But either way, we have our portfolio monthly data for week 37. This is from March 5th, 2025 to April 5th, 2025. We have a net cash flow of $60, so it's two deposits, one on March 12th and one on April 2nd. Like I said, after immediately depositing, portfolio came down. We have a money-weighted rate of return of down 0.95%, negative 0.95%. We have a market loss of $5.74, and we have a dividend earned of 52 cents. So this is our portfolio's monthly data for week 37. Then we have our portfolio quarterly data for week 37, and we really see how odd this fucking spike is right here. So this is from January 6th, 2025 to April 5th, 2025. We have a net cash flow of $153.87. That's 5 deposits. You see every time I spike up, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this spike went up and then immediately dropped back when tariffs got announced. We had a money-weighted rate of return of a positive 1.39%. That's good at least. We have a market gain of $4.58, and we have a dividend earned of 77 cents. So this is our quarterly data for week 37. And now our all-time data for week 37. So this is since day one till today. So this started July 21st, 2024, and up to today, April 5th, 2025. We have a net cash flow of $465.04. So we have our initial cash deposit of $100. We see the spike here. And then every 3 weeks, a $30 deposit. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have $360, 12 times 30. And with the additional $100, makes it $465 in cash flow. We have a money-weighted rate of return of 6.19%, positive 6.19%. Market gain of $14.47. And we have a dividend earned of $205. I'm sorry, whoa, $2.05, I wish. $2.05 dividend earned. Thank you. So that's our all-time data. So even though we got hit hard this week through those tariffs, we're so positive since we started this thing. Trump's been giving us some bad market weeks for sure. We had this one in February, and then we're having this one in April. So our portfolio weekly percentages. See here on the right, we have our target weights. So we have 30% allocated to gold with our GLD ETF. I've now increased the allocation of bonds because this volatility was insane. So U.S. government bonds at 20% now with our GOVI ETF, and it's actually up unlike everything else. Commodities are at 20% with our USCI ETF. US dollar at 15% with our UUP ETF. Stocks at 10% with our RSP ETF, which have got decimated. And Bitcoin at 5% with our IBIT ETF. Now, pardon me. Now we get to see the damage of the week. So gold, even gold sold off, down 1.59% for a market loss of $2.31. My guess is gold's been going up for so long, and all this craziness happened that people had to sell, the things that were up to make kind of make back what they lost basically in the market. So I think that's why gold sold off, because man, gold is like the safe haven asset right now for sure. Bonds up 1.98% for $1.57. So I just did this on Friday. I had to make like a quick decision because the market just kept coming down. I was like, holy shit, for this Friday morning. But something's up in my portfolio at least. So I have to fucking increase it 20% to actually have it make a difference, this volatility. Commodities down 4.58% for a market loss of $4.42. Pardon me. It's a big drop for commodities. Commodities are selling off. That sucks. We're doing so good for so long. US dollar down 0.95% for a market loss of 68 cents. So the dollar came down a little bit, almost 1%. Here's the big one. Stocks down 9.21% for a market loss of $5.83. Almost 10% drop in our stock market ETF, equal weighted, I might add, in 1 week. In 1 week. That is bananas. That's insane. And then we have Bitcoin miraculously up 0.08% for a market gain of 2 pennies. Good job, Bitcoin. Good job. And we have our monthly percentages. So gold up 3.88% for a market gain of $5.23. Bonds, remember we don't have a lot of data on bonds because this is a fairly new ETF, so that's about as much we're going to get, maybe a month, a little more. But bonds are up 1.82% for a market gain of $1.23. Commodities down 1.72% for a market loss of $1.54. US dollar down 2.49% for a market loss of $1.79. Stocks for the month down 10.25% for a market loss of $6.79. As you can tell from the weekly to the monthly, all the losses were basically just last week. And then Bitcoin down 2.87% for a market loss of 66 cents. That's our monthly percentages for week 37. Quarterly percentages for week 37. We have gold up 14.41% for a market gain of $16.54. Bonds, again, we're not going to have a full data set for this, so we're just going to skip this one because I don't even have a quarter's worth of this ETF yet. Commodities up 0.73% for a market gain of 55 cents. US dollar down 4.98% for a market loss of $3.80. Stocks down 12.21% for a market loss of $7.40. So man, over the quarter now, their stocks are negative. And Bitcoin still down 14.56% for a market loss of $3.14. So this is our portfolio quarterly data. And then we have our all-time data. So this is from the beginning till today. Gold up 26.57% for a market gain of $20.19. And we're going to skip bonds because we don't have a full set of data. Commodity, we'll look at it on the chart so you'll see how it's performing. Commodities up 6.93% for a market gain of $3.03. US dollar down 6.31% for a market loss of $3.20. Stocks down 19.48% for a market loss of $7.76. So this is from the beginning of the portfolio now. Stocks are just fucking negative in my portfolio. It's crazy. And then Bitcoin up 28.68% for a market gain of $3.23. So Bitcoin had its big write-up going into the election. And even though it's sold off, it's still retaining some of its value. So position changes. So this is what I added on Friday, yesterday. like I said, the market was just taking a massive hit, and I just couldn't leave so much in my stock ETF. I need to wait for volatility to settle before I think about putting some back in. But on 4/4/25 or April 4th, 2025, I sold off 5% of the RSP ETF, which is a stock ETF, and I put that 5% in the GOVI, which is the US bonds ETF. So I moved 5% out of stocks and 5% into bonds. Like I said, the market was just tanking. These are my portfolio transactions for week 37. So on April 2nd, we had our $30 deposit. We have $30.49 right here. And we spread it across our ETFs. So stocks got $7.43. US dollar got $6.74. Bitcoin got $2.04. Gold got $4.22. Bonds got $5.86. And commodities got $4.20. And then on April 4th, that Friday, that's when I reduced my position by 5% in stocks. So you see the sales over here. So $22.22, sold that. And I put that over into bonds. So I bought bonds for $20.20. I also sold off a little bit of these other ones because whenever you do a rebalance, it just rebalances it for you. And it does $3.55 into commodities. So these are my transactions for the week. And we have alluvium staking for week 37. So the ILV price is down to $12.14. We have currently 12.34 ILV staked for a current market value of $149.78. We have our vesting schedule. So these are all our vests. The very first one back in July of 2024. And the most recent down here, last month, March 29th, 2025. So every month we do take $40 and stake it, or buy ILV and then stake it. And that's how we get our revenue distribution. And over time we'll get more. Prices will of course fluctuate of the token, but the overall long-term goal is passive income. And then we have our revenue distribution for week 37. So no new revenue distribution. We've had our 3 payments since we've started doing this portfolio, which add up to 0.024 ILV for a current market value of 29 cents. And we have no alluvium transactions this week. And those are our weekly numbers. And now we get to the fun stuff. Now we get to see what the fuck happened this week. So start with gold, as we always start with gold. As you can see right here, this red bar is a yearly chart. You see this red bar? This was the sell-off this week. Right, but still in this bullish trend. This bullish trend goes back, I show this every week, October of 2023. It's a GLD ETF. Right, this is our gold. Right, so if you put it in perspective, you know, it's a hell of a sell-off, right? But if you put it in perspective, you know, that's just that little blip right there. We're still in this green trend. We're still up and to the right. And I would argue right now, you know, in addition to bonds, gold are like your safe haven assets. So like when things are uncertain, like right now, like we just had this week with these 185 countries getting tariffed simultaneously, you know, gold is still going to be a great asset. So I'm still keeping it at 30%. And commodities, look at this fucking drop in commodities. Look at this fucking sideways McDonald's logo happening right here. We came up out of this green trend back in January, then we popped again in February, and then dropped, and then came up again, and then boom, dropped. But if you look at the trend, you know, even if you go back 5 years, shit. If you look at the trend, you know, commodities are up and to the right, you know, still up and to the right. So keeping it in perspective, even though this was a sharp drop for commodities, it's a straight line down, didn't actually even break through the trend yet. Or maybe it barely did briefly, but overall it closed higher, right? So opened high and dropped by the end of the day and closed higher above this trend. So this is pretty bad. Again, people selling off everything that they can right now. Everybody got scared when tariffs got announced. So that's what's happening. Now bonds, interesting, sharp tick up. Look at this. This is from March 37th. March 27th. There's no 37-day month. March 27th till today. There's a sharp trend coming up. Specifically, look at it on 5-day. You see coming to where we at? April 2nd. Boom, sharp tick up. Boom, right as the tariffs, or after tariffs are announced, a little sideways, and then the market opened again. Boom, another fucking run up. So bonds now creeping up. That's why I put them at 20%. If I was more aware or more on top of it, I probably would have done this on Thursday instead of Friday. Or if I really was like making a bold prediction, I would have done it Wednesday before tariff announcement. Then this would have been a great play. If I kicked this shit up to like 30%, oh man, that would have been much better for my portfolio. But it's fine. It's only been a couple days. The dust isn't even close to being settled yet with these tariffs, because we have no idea what the other countries are going to do in retaliation. Because there's always going to be countries that retaliate. It's a tariff war, Now, like, could you imagine if all 185 countries just went, "Yep, these are the new tariffs," and this like kept going about their day? Like, it's not going to happen. Like, we're gonna see what happens. It's gonna be crazy. U.S. dollar, damn, U.S. dollar dropping. U.S. dollar dropping. So just on look at that, April, right after tariffs, boom, drop. There's a little bit of a comeback though, right? A little bit of a comeback, but like right after, just boom, look at that drop. So I don't know where to go with the dollar on this one, this whole tariff thing. I might reduce from its 15% position down to 10. Maybe I'll just stick that 5% into bonds, because it's like the only thing working right now. So bonds might get kicked up to 25% in a very short amount of time. But yeah, US dollar, I don't know. Let's look at the DXY. Get a better chart of it. There we go. Dude, extend this arrow now. Jesus Christ. I don't like that's going through it. It just irks me for some reason. There we go. Oh my god, so sharp right up and then sharp right down. Look at that shit. Look at that reversal on that. Just boom. Yeah, that's crazy. Maybe I should bring this in, because this is not doing what I want. I'll put you on the tippy. Right there, the tippy of that arrow. There we go. Good enough. So boom. Maybe I'll do this. I always love doing live adjustments in front of everybody. There we go. So boom. What the fuck? I should have not been holding on dollar so much, but clearly I was a dumbass. So I don't know what to do with the dollar right now. I really don't. This is very surprising. These tariffs, I don't know how it's going to hurt us. Talking U.S. currency specifically, I don't know how it's going to hurt us. I'm going to have to see next week. Really, next week is going to be interesting. Like, this week was interesting because the announcement, like I said, we're going to see for a while now how these tariffs are going to play out. Like, if anyone says they know, they have no fucking clue. They have no fucking... I can't imagine the size of the team you have to have to evaluate 185 countries, and all these tariffs and how they affect people. I don't even know if I can look at that right now. Let's see. It's Rocky. How many countries... Oops. Can I type? Got tariffed. Some live updates. As of April 5th, has imposed tariffs on a significant number of countries under President Trump's recent trade policies. Based on available information, a universal 10% baseline tariffs. That's baseline, right? Baseline, minimum. That means they can always go higher, right? A universal 10% baseline tariff applies to imports from nearly all countries starting April 5th with additional reciprocal tariffs. So there's not even all the tariffs, there's reciprocal tariffs targeting specific nations effective April 9th, 2025. Reports indicate that approximately 60 countries face these higher customized reciprocal tariffs on top of the baseline based on factors like trade deficits or perceived trade barriers. Since there are around 195 recognized sovereign countries globally, the 10% baseline tariff technically affects almost all of them unless explicitly exempted. Oh my god. While the additional reciprocal tariffs single out 60. So 60 countries are going to get fucked harder. Everyone's getting fucked with 10%, but then there's an additional 60 countries that are going to get it worse. Notably, Canada and Mexico were not listed, thank God. We have NAFTA or UMCA. That's our fucking trade alliance. We need that. For new reciprocal tariffs in the latest April announcement, but are already subject to existing 25% tariffs from earlier actions. I thought they went back and forth with this, I don't remember. With some exemptions under the USMCA, they don't call it NAFTA no more. The exact total number of countries impacted depends on how one country's exemptions and prior tariffs, but the policy broadly touches nearly every trading partner, with 60 facing elevating rates. Man, what are the top 10 countries with the highest tariffs? Let's see. Just curious. I think China's one of them. Pretty sure China's one of them. Alright, as of April 5th, the United States under President Trump has implemented a new regime, 10%, blah, blah. Already read this. Okay, so China, 54%. Jesus. 34, well, they tariffed the shit out of us, so like I shouldn't be surprised. 34% reciprocal plus 20% existing tariff from earlier 2025 actions. I think this was from the fentanyl tariff or whatever the fuck. They were tariffing them, like the drug trade. 54% though, Jesus. China tariffs the shit out of everybody, so I'm not going to pretend like they're fucking, like, innocent in all this. This is arguably the first big action the U.S. has taken against them in terms of tariffs, where they've tariffed the shit out of us. Cambodia, why? 49% reciprocal tariff. Laos, 48% reciprocal tariff. Madagascar, 47%. Don't fucking tax the lions, right? 47% reciprocal tariff. Vietnam, 46% reciprocal tariff. I think Vietnam is doing a deal right now with Trump to get this brought down. I think. I don't know if it's gone through. Sri Lanka, 44% reciprocal tariff. Taiwan, 32% reciprocal tariff. I hope we work out a deal with this, because we get a lot of fucking chips for our computers from Taiwan, so kind of need them. India, 26% reciprocal tariffs. South Korea, that's actually a big fucking one, 25% reciprocal tariff. Japan, don't tax Japan, 24% reciprocal tariff. I love their games and anime and their food and everything. The culture is amazing. Why would you tax Japan? I hate it. Oh man, so that's just the top 10. I'm not even going to go through the whole list of all countries, whatever. That's just the top 10. But China, for sure, getting it the worst. For sure. And I guarantee they've already retaliating if they haven't yet. They're already about to. So that is bananas crazy. So we're going to see what happens. But yeah, with the dollar, I don't know how it's going to get played out with these tariffs. I really don't. Might have to cut some out of the dollar, put it into bonds, because bonds seem like the only thing that's working. And gold is already at 30%, but Jesus, I might have to push past it just to fucking protect, the net worth portfolio. RSP, Jesus. Oh my God, look at that candle. Look at this fucking candle right here. This is the stock market right here. Let's look at it fully zoomed. This trend, there we go. Going back to September of 22. Dude, look at that fucking drop. We are out of this trend. This one, where we dropped out, let's see, September 19th, 2023 to December 11th, 2023. So like a 3-month trend-ish to get back into the trend. I don't know if that's going to happen with this, but I mean, this was just such a short, this kind of, it came down kind of sharply, but it was also like kind of going sideways. But this is just a straight drop down. Like, look at this on a 5-day. Just here we are, April 2nd, before tariff announcement, boom, drop. Then here we are, April 3rd, next day, boom, drop, right? What's the S&P look like? Probably equally disgusting, yeah? Equally disgusting. Oh my God. Zoom out. October 22nd. 2022 till today. The whole trend, Dude, look at this trend. Look at this trend, man. You know what? I'm gonna have to reduce stocks to 5%. Dude, these tariffs are, oof. They're nuking the fucking markets right now. Trump nuked the market. That's crazy. That is crazy. But in the portfolio, you know, we try to diversify. You know, this shit was 10% in a week. I didn't lose 10% in a week. I lost like 2% in a week. What'd my fucking weekly chart say? Weekly. I lost basically 2.5% in 1 week. But if you're just fully invested in the market, bro, like you lost. Where's the measurement tool? Let's fucking measure it out. So where are we? April 2nd. Where are we? 2nd, right here. Right. Let's make this easier on myself. April 2nd. So this was before. Yep, this is the day before. Boom. Boom. So 10.53%. So if you're just in the S&P 500, not even in stocks, like specific individual stocks, just the index, the S&P 500 in 1 week, you lost 10.53%. In 1 week, I lost 2.5%. Right? So like, I lost like 25%-ish. But looking at the comparison though, like I don't make as much as the S&P. Like when the S&P really goes up, it makes good money. You know, I'm like trailing it. But like when it goes down as fucking sharply as it went down right now, you know, I'm not losing as much money. I'm diversified, you know, because we got our 30% allocation of gold and 20% to bonds and 20% to commodities. Commodities might have to change. I don't know. But look at that 1 week. It's almost 4.5% lost in 1 week on commodities. It's crazy. Almost 1.5% lost on gold though. But imagine if I had just all of my RSP ETF down 9.21% in 1 week. My portfolio is not down 9.21%. It's down less than 2.5%. I took a hit, just like everybody's taking a hit, but I took a smaller hit. You know? So that's a smaller recovery I have to make to get back up to my all-time high again, which hopefully will be in the next couple weeks or something. Not going to be like I'm going to make a whole bunch. It's just kind of get back, you know? And maybe it's through gold and bonds, diversifying out of stocks for right now. But 10.53% down in 1 fucking week. Not even in a full week, just a couple days. Like 2 trading days, essentially. Thursday and Friday. Just crazy. Can't wait to see what the market does next week. My God, I can't wait. But yeah, stocks, dude. Fucking stocks, just whoosh, straight drop. Now the fun one, Bitcoin. Dude, I don't even know. Look at it on a 5-day. It dropped, you know, like it dropped, but like it really kind of recovered, which was very interesting. I think because Bitcoin already dropped from like 100K to 50K. I mean, 100K to 80K. It wasn't going to drop as much because there was already a big sell-off. Here we go. Put it on that peak right there. So down 6%. Not bad. Market came down 10. So not bad for Bitcoin. And then it's already coming back up. So we'll see if even this trend continues next week. You know, if people for some reason are now buying into crypto. I always like to show this chart though, just so people kind of have perspective. I don't think Bitcoin's going to smash through any new all-time highs anytime soon, but I'll say this though, if it retains, you know, above this 80K level, I will be pleasantly surprised. But you know, it peaked back in 2017, hit this trend line, crashed, had a double peak in 2021 at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, then crashed each time. And then at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, hit another double peak and then crashed. So it's not breaking this line so far, right? It's not breaking this line so far. You have to be like 105 to 110,000 easy minimum to try to get close to breaking this line again. But I don't know. We just got these little like attempted run-ups and then just boom, attempted run-up and then boom. But surprisingly though, over that 5-day period, just came down and then just kind of went sideways. You know, I'm pleasantly surprised with that. I'm very surprised Bitcoin did that. I would have thought for sure it would have been going down too. I don't know how it's even coming back a little bit on the ETF. I don't know how it's doing that, but like I said, maybe because it crashed from 100 to 80K already. Maybe Bitcoin is the canary in the coal mine, where it crashed first, you know, from that 100K down to 80K, because things weren't all rosy like people say they are. And then tech stocks started crashing, like Nvidia, Apple, and all them. And then, that's just what happened. So yeah, Nvidia, just see what it did. The biggest fucking tech company in the world. Oh my god. So this peaked, really, probably the last peak, we'll call it right here. At this like double top back in beginning of January 6th, and then just came down. How much did it lose in these few days? How much did you Nvidia holders lose? Let's see. About the low here. 15%. God damn. 15% in just 2 days. Just as an example, right? These stocks are getting crushed. This is crazy. I can't believe it. Like those Trump tariffs came out of fucking left field. Like we knew tariffs were coming, but like, bro, like that you were gonna tariff the world? Like I had no clue. Like who thought about that? Trump is gonna tariff the world, and this is gonna be the effect. People knew tariffs were coming. People knew certain countries were gonna be targeted. People knew some stuff, but like, who would have thought? And who knew by how much by each country for nearly 200 countries in the world? And not to mention, we haven't even seen the reciprocal tariffs on the 60 additional countries. So we got the 10% baseline starting tomorrow, April 5th. That's the baseline. Just everybody tariff the penguins in Antarctica. I don't give a fuck. Right, tariff everyone, 10%. Then on April 9th, reciprocal tariffs on 60 countries. So 60 countries are going to get just additional tariffs. It's crazy. Tariff. That's a fun word. But hey, as always, volatility is just a part of the market. It is what it is. That's why we diversify. That's why we invest. If you look at the VIX, look at this fucking glorious spike in volatility right here. What's it on the 5-year? Dude, you got to go back to the pandemic to really get this fucking high. Like we had this one-off in this is August, right? Yeah, August 5th. Remember that fucking crazy blip of fucking volatility? But dude, you got to go all the way back to fucking 2020 to have the craziness of this volatility. And it closed pretty high. We closed at, was 33? This is 45. Yeah, we're up here at 45, 45.31. Dude, I'm not touching stocks. Get below this blue line, this 20 line. This is when VIX is like more normal. These scoops, I've talked about this before, these scoops that kind of happen under the blue line, these scoops, these are great times to be buying stocks. Less volatility. But above these scoops or above these blue lines, when shit starts getting super choppy like this, this is like crazy time to get into stocks. Good time to get discounts on stocks, but like to be long-term investor during these crazy ass fucking spikes, like nah. Like look at the 2008 spike. Remember 2008? Housing market crash? Everything crashed. Dude, look at where we're at. Look at it in the historical sense. We're like right here. Look at how very few of these lines we've touched at this high level versus down here, the 20 line, where it chops through everything. But look at that. Look at that. That is crazy. I hope volatility goes down. If it goes up on Monday, the stock market's still going down. It might still go down just because, but yeah. Almost lost 6% in one day. Look at that, 5.91% or 97. Just call it 6% one day. Almost had a circuit breaker, which would have been at 7%. Funny that it didn't have a circuit breaker hole. But dude, volatility, Jesus. If you're buying stocks now, hopefully it's because you think, I know they went down and they're probably going to go down more, but I'm getting them at a cheaper discount. Like Nvidia in 1 week went down 15%. So you're getting a 50% lower price, 50% discount than what it was on Monday, let's say. Like you're getting a discount on it. So I don't recommend it. I buy ETFs that follow large indexes, except for like, gold, dollar, and Bitcoin. I just follow those specifically. But like I buy the S&P RSP ETF. So yeah, this thing still took a fucking hit. It is crazy. But yeah, what a hell of a week, and it's just getting started. Like to think everything is going to go back to normal on Monday is just asinine. Like no, like this is a new regime. This is like when COVID hit. This is like a new regime change. COVID was a global pandemic. This is a global trade war. Right, we're in a global trade war now, like it or not. Right, however you feel about it, I don't care, right? Because I'm managing my portfolio. The stock market came down 10%. I was down 2.5%. like I said, I lost 25% compared to what the market lost, or I lost 25% of what the market lost. So, that's why I diversify. I'm still taking a hit. Everyone's taking a hit right now. If you didn't take a hit, don't waste your time watching my channel. You clearly know what you're doing. Go somewhere else. Like, you clearly know what you're doing, right? But like, I at least dodged some bullets, not all the bullets. I like to say I dodged most of the bullets, but not all the bullets. I still got hit. But man, this is crazy. And I don't know what's going to happen next week. I might have to do another like little emergency bump into my bonds and just fucking see. Like, if I see the futures Sunday night going into Monday morning, like just down, like coming down 1%, 2% or more, I might bump into bonds again, because the 10-year yield was going down. It got below like 4% at one point. Got below 4% at one point. It's right at 4% right now. Look at that crash to that line. Right? It crashed to that line. If it breaks this trend, man, it's on for bonds. I'm telling you that much. It's on for bonds. And we don't even know if the Fed's going to reduce rates yet. Like, we still have to wait and see. But man, fucking crazy. Crazy week. Crazy week. But anyway, can't wait to do it again next week. See what craziness happens next week in this global trade war that we're having. But as always, I'm going to keep making these videos every week. That's the point. Here's a good example of a diversified portfolio versus the market. Just going all in on the stock market, like the S&P 500. Like, you could have lost 10% in like 2 days. I lost 2.5%, right? Because everyone's losing money. Like, gold sold off, commodities sold off, the stock index sold off, Bitcoin sold off a little bit, and it went sideways, and it keeps selling off. But like, the dollar sold off, like everything sold off. Like, that's why I say, like, if you somehow made money in all this, you're a fucking genius. Don't waste your time watching me. But everyone else, like, was trying to learn. I'm like, how much did you lose if you're invested in the market this week? Did you lose a lot? Right? I lost about 2.5%. I'm going to make that back. And I'll make that back faster than everyone else tries to make back their 10, 20, 30%, whatever the fuck they lost. So that's the whole point of diversification. I don't make all the highs, but I also don't take all the lows. I'm like trying to like maintain, trying to grow and maintain. But this is a great example of just how this portfolio is supposed to work. Like, I'm going to take a hit because I'm in the market. That just is what it is. But like, my hit's smaller compared to everyone else's hit. If you're in the S&P, you took 10%. You took this like puke right here. You took that puke right there. You took 10% right there. Right? In just 2 days. That's what you'd had. Right? I don't even know what the NASDAQ did. Probably was worse. But anyway, rambling too much. So, as always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or criticisms, or maybe you learned something new today about market volatility and crashes, let me know. And I'll see you again next week.